day in our ceremony that will be following at noon. So we'll have a 15-minute break. And I have to tell you, it is a spectacular ceremony. Norman and Mel will be here, and Vince will be doing, to his surprise, he's part of our ceremony, so he'll be doing a short talk. And then we have a fabulous catered lunch. Before I begin my talk, I would like to thank Marianne Borden for sponsoring the luncheon and paying for everything, and Kathy Black, Kathy and Marianne have been decorating and shopping all week. So Kathy's not even in the room.
No, I'm right
So,
here.
oh, good! Yes, Kathy!
I'm in the cheap seats.
Okay. There are no cheap seats. So science, let me do my talk for today then, which is on stillness. We'll do the Memorial Day one separately. Scientists conducted an experiment to see what effect early environment and circumstances have on a being's concept of itself. So this is a true story, it's not a joke. So for the experiment, they used a baby rabbit that is, which was taken from its mother, baby rabbit, just after it was born. And it was put in a nest with a hen, because hens are known to accept the young of other animals. So the bunny grew up with the hen and learned how to eat like the chicks did, the chickens, all the chicken habits. It learned to peck the food, it learned to roost with the chickens, and it even developed a chicken-like hop. When it grew up, the scientists took it away from the hen and put it back with its own species, with rabbits, and thinking that what would happen, that a rabbit would probably naturally like that. Well, this rabbit did not like that. First of all, he was very afraid. He went into a corner and he cowered, and he did not connect with the other rabbits at all. He wouldn't eat, he wouldn't drink, he just was out of his element. After a while, the scientists put him back with the hen and with the other chicks, and he perked right up because he was glad to be back home. So we are taught at a very, very young age who to be with, how to be. So here are the questions. What if we weren't taught the truth? What if someone taught us the wrong stuff? Maybe on purpose, usually in ignorance. So most of the time it's what someone learns, passes it down, generational history. How would we even know it was the wrong stuff? And how in the world could we ever figure out we were right? So the story of this experiment with the bunny and these questions constitutes the opening of this book that this whole month I have been basing when I've been speaking. We had a couple of guest speakers in, Swami Yogamananda last week, fabulous man. But I've been basing the talks personally on a book by Lenadra Carroll. And it was written over 12 years ago, and in addition to being an author, she's also the mother of pop star and writer Jewel, which I haven't heard about Jewel lately. She's still around?
Yeah, she's doing great.
So this book is entitled The Architecture of All Abundance, Creating a Successful Life in the Material World. So given that title, you might think, who needs another prosperity book? With all of the prosperity books that are out there on this planet. But this book, which kind of got lost in that whole, the evolution, the whole immersion of New Thought books, kind of went by, but there's some beautiful ways of living in this book. And her dedication in the book is really profound. This is what she writes. This book, like my life, is dedicated to the understanding of divine excellence within each of us, that when lived, uplifts humanity and moves us beyond our current limitations and difficulties, and into the revolution of the soul and its certain transformation of our individual lives, our planet, and our species. That was her dedication. I thought that was kind of powerful myself. So that's what this book is about. We are being guided to call forth the divine excellence in each of us. And in case you didn't realize that there is a divine excellence within each and every one, all the time, all the time. We just might not have been taught that. And by recognizing that and transforming our individual lives, that's how we transform this planet. That's how we transform this species that we're a part of. Buckminster Fuller wrote, "We are all called to be architects of our future, not its victims." See, we're moving out of the victim mentality. We want to get out of the victim mentality and move into that powerful way of making decisions and living our lives. So the first place to start on this journey, of course, is within. Can't start anywhere else. Within ourselves. The answer to all of life's questions really reside here, don't they? They don't reside out there in the effects, the cause, within. So the architect of stillness, which is what this talk is called today, is really powerful as a guideline, as a map to living our lives with a blueprint that serves our soul, a soul blueprint, if you will. So I'm going to quote from the book where she writes, "Stillness is the spring." Listen to this. "Stillness is the spring that all rivers flow from, and that the ocean that all the rivers flow back into. Stillness underlies its movement, informs all life. It is the vitality that creates us, surrounds us, and supports us. The source of stillness is the source of all creation. It is the essence in which we live, breathe, move, and have our being." Sounds like she's pretty new thought to me. Sounds directly out of Ernest Holmes' books. So just as there are many roads to the divine, there are many routes or roads inward. Meditation, prayer, nature, solitude, sacred writing, dance, ceremony, chanting, music, even gardening. That's to get into the stillness of life, which we're going to talk about. The method though, is not nearly as important as the commitment and the practice. It is the repeated journey into silence that brings the reward of stillness. So we're talking about stillness today. We might not have really heard about that, but last week, as we had Swami Yogamananda here, he gave a message that was entitled "From Daydreaming to Meditation." And if you were here, you would probably just enjoyed it. I would say blown away, but just really enjoyed the incredible depth of knowledge and wisdom that this man shares selflessly to the world. He's really an incredible being, but he talked about how we can stop the mind chatter and direct our thoughts when we go into meditation, into the stillness. Be aware of the thoughts, as Patty did in her. She had no idea what I was going to do today. So, as Patty said in the meditation, notice as the thoughts go by and just still and quiet them. Be still. It's the only way the divine can express through us. So this morning, I'm going to suggest a specific way of attaining that stillness. A type of stillness that has inherent in it the ability to transform situations. A type of stillness that has the power of thought beyond our rational minds. A type of stillness that enables us to know that which we have not yet known. And I think that sounds pretty good, yeah?
Yeah.
So you might be thinking that this is some incredibly in-depth method, to some technique that master spiritual people need to attain, but it can be attained by anyone. Anyone can be the master, the mystic of their own lives. So just keep that in mind. Our author, Lenasia Carroll, happened on this transformative type of stillness one day when she was 9 years old. And I'm going to read her story, so it's a couple of minutes, but I want to share the whole thing because I think it's important of what happened to her and how we can maybe take that story with us and come into our own awareness of stillness for ourselves. So she was in 3rd grade, and she was having a wonderful, wonderful time playing in the snow, making snowballs in various shapes, and she came up with this very sophisticated process where she got buckets of water and crepe paper, and she would wet the crepe paper, which was in colors, and press it into snowballs, and she kept doing this, patting and pressing, until she noticed that her mittens were soggy. And so like any 3rd grader would do, she took them up and continued the whole process with the snow, making these beautiful creations out of the snow. So she was pretty satisfied with her work, but noticed at some point in this process that her hands were aching. They were really aching, and they looked grayish and waxy, and they were very puffy. She intuitively knew that something was wrong. So she again did what any 3rd grader would do. She went and got her mom. And her mother took one look at her hands and grabbed her by the hand, ran out the house, and started putting her daughter's hands in the snow because that's what doctors say that you're supposed to do. Anyway, as she went to grab her daughter's hands, her daughter instinctively pulled them back and said, "No, no, no." And the mom tried to explain to her that she had frostbite and this was the procedure to be followed. And she must do this if she wants her hands to come back, otherwise her fingers would fall off. Spoken like any good mother. The images we put in mind. So anyway, I was going to go. Let me continue this. So no, Lenadra insisted. It doesn't help. The doctors are wrong. The mom was very upset and frustrated and said, "Okay, then you can figure it out for yourself." And walked out of the room and called her smarty pants. So Lenadra said, "Okay, I will." So the mom stumped out of the room, and Lenadra stomped in afterwards, as any child would, and she was usually not much trouble, but something within her was really pulling her into this experience, which absolutely, it's a whole chapter in the book about it, changed her life. So she sat down on the couch and gazed at her hands, and she peered at them and wondered fervently what to do. What is the answer? What is the answer? Then something happened, and she saw what to do. She literally saw her hands in a different way. She saw them as shimmering water, shimmering matter, as little blobs that had liquid in them. She actually saw this. So she understood that the liquid had become frozen, and that the walls of these little blobs were very fragile. And if you rub them together hard, they could break each other and leak. This is her visual. She understood that. And she understood that her hands needed to be warmed very slowly. So she picked her hands up and she put them under her arms, thinking that would do it. But it was too hot, too fast, too much, too fast. So she went to her mom and explained to her this theory that she downloaded. And she explained to her mom her hands were like these little blobs with liquid in them. And her mother understood that, okay, they're cells. I understand that. So that they needed to be warmed very, very gradually. So her mother sat quiet for a moment, still rather perturbed at a headstrong daughter, and then said, "Well, there are cells in there. Maybe if we put them under cool water, and then warm them up that way gradually." Lenadra knew, this 9-year-old knew with an inner knowing. Nobody told her about this. She knew with this inner knowing that this was the right thing to do. And soon her hands were soft, not puffy, and they returned to the normal color. And more importantly, they stopped hurting. Mom said this was all amazing. And Dad thought it was very interesting that she came up with this. And that was a really good solution. The miracle, though, was that this 9-year-old needed to know something. She needed to figure it out on her own. She got quiet, didn't she? And she asked herself, what is the answer? And if you're asking yourself and you're open for the answer, the divine is going to come through and give you the answer, because the solution always comes in with the question, with the problem. The answer always comes in with the question spoken. We don't know that. Some of us don't. No one ever told us that, but that's the truth. So for any difficulty, there is a solution that comes in with it. So this is what Lenedra did. And that's the part that the parents really didn't get, but she did. She did. She understood. We can know anything right here, right now, if we remain open to it. We just have to sit still. It's all about stillness, and ask. And Ernest Holmes tells us in Science of Mind, let us learn to be still and let the truth speak through us. To be still and know the inner light shines. We have an inner light that is forever. Sunny, right? All these sunny songs, it's always shining, it's light. So Lenedra developed a system, a form of contemplation, able to access the stillness as a way to tap into this innate knowing. And she called this her dream machine, how to come to know. How to come to know. And so in a moment, you're going to experience that also. But here are a couple of important things about this process. During it, that we're going to be doing in a minute, during this process, something might happen immediately. You pose your question, you have a question, or an impending decision you might have, if anyone has a decision to make, which we usually always do. And out of the blue, which always means that triggers something like the divine is speaking, the answer will come to you. Or you may be pointed in a new direction, divine guidance is always taking place. Or you may simply come to know something you didn't know before. Or you might not. Sometimes the answers to these things that we expect a direct answer to might not happen in that moment. It might happen in a couple of hours, a couple of days, when you're doing something else. I've had the most powerful insights when I was doing something totally unrelated to what I meditated about, and whoa, it's like a download. So just be open to that. So the more you practice this method of stillness, the more you will learn that there is nothing that you cannot come to know about yourself. Great wisdom and great ideas will flow through you. Comfort and peace, solutions to any practical matter or difficulty that you might have, and you say, I don't know what to do. Yes, you do. I have to tell that to myself. Because I'll be in a situation, it's like, I have no idea what to do. It could be something small, like what to choose on the menu. So when I went out with my friends on Friday, and I ordered both. And I got both. And I had one day, and I had last night, I had my Hawaiian butterfish. So we just don't know. But we do know. That's just it. We do know. We do know. So just be open to that. There's so much to access beyond the individual mind. There's a vast universe of wisdom. That is our birthright. Just the fact that we are here as a human species, we have been endowed with this incredible capacity to know more than we think that we know. Somebody told us we didn't know, so we believed it. That was that whole point of maybe you were taught wrong. So we're going to begin to listen to the soul's voice, as it comes through. And this takes practice to know which voice we're listening to. The soul's voice that we're going to listen to. And so you would like to know your soul's voice you will know your soul's voice by the qualities of peace and of love. It will feel good. It will feel right. That's when you know it's your divine self speaking to you. It's peaceful. Okay, so let's have our experience right now. So I invite you.